on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to get our LED lights installed on our kayak trailer so we can see early in the morning or late at night when we're getting ready before we go on the water. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, before we get into the install, I want to go over the lights I'm using. These are made by Nilight. I'll leave a link in the description below. These are a 3-inch cube LED light, combination spot flood. I've been using Nilight now for 7 years, since I've basically been kayak fishing, because I always throw them on my truck to light up the area. Now I need to add more lights to the trailer. This way it lights up right where I'm working at. I got a set of lights on my truck, which I'll show you here. These are the set I have on my truck right now. Sorry about the water. It's pouring outside. But we got a set of larger Nilights, combination flood spots on our truck that we use to light up the area, light up our bed. And as you see, I got those lights turned on right now, and it lights up the area generally, but I still need to put some lighting right onto the kayak itself, so it's a little bit more intense. And I do have a 20-inch bar, but that'd be an overkill if I put it right there on the upper rack of my trailer. So that's why I went with the 3-inch. I figured these two cubes right here would be the perfect amount of light to put right where my kayak is when I'm getting ready. And I will show these to you like early in the morning when I go out, what it looks like on the trailer, plus the ones on my truck. But you can see the ones on my truck. I'll spin you around here. That's what those two look like on my actual rack itself. But you know, I still need some more intense light right over the kayak itself. So we're gonna mount these lights right here, and that'll light up pretty much where I need it to light up the rest of my trailer, inside my my fish boxes, which these lights up here cover them. But I need a little bit more, just like right here kind of light, because basically because it's on my back of my truck and I got to cover. I'm kind of getting a shadow line here. That's why we decided to add some more lights. Plus, if you watch my previous trailer video, I do have the power already tied into my constant power when I changed the 7-pin wiring harness to my truck. So I got the power, the constant power, when I plug my truck in to power these lights. But you know, I'm going to put them inside a box here, or the switch will be inside the box. And you could just use, if you don't have constant power at your trailer, if you don't have a 7-pin wiring harness, or you just have the four-way flat, you could run these lights off. See, I got like little batteries here I use for my kayak. You could put a little 12-volt battery in your box or your utility box to power those lights, and just, you know, recharge this battery or a larger car battery every now and then. But being that they're LED, they would last for a very long time before we have to recharge them. Before you have to recharge a battery anyway. So that's another option if you don't have constant power at your trailer. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring this power into the box here. We're going to cut a switch in either here on the side or on the back, and then we're going to run another wire up to where the lights sit, and that's it, guys. Very simple, but I'll kind of go through the process here a little bit. I'm not going to show you as I go step by step as I wire the lights up. It's pretty, you know, cut and dry getting the wires around, and I'll show you my connections. But it's a very simple process. It doesn't take that much, I guess I could say, mechanical skill to do this kind of project. And it's pretty simple to wire the lights up themselves with just some crimp connectors, some tape, tie wraps, etc. And it's very simple to do this and mount these lights. So in the meantime, I'm going to shut those lights off so I'm not blinded. But it is lighting my face up nice, isn't it? Get some things here prepped, drill some holes in the box, and get this whole thing kind of set up. And then I'll go through with you as I mount these lights, what I use to mount them to the unit strut as I built my upper rack, and just kind of show you the connections made where the switch is and also where the lights are. Before I get into this install, I kind of want to show you the wiring harness, because I'm going to change it up a bit. And you can see, and this whole kit comes with the instructions, but you can see it comes with the relay. You have your pigtails off this whole wiring harness to your lights. You can see you got your black and red that plugs into your lights themselves. When you put these crimp ins on that come with the kit, and you can plug them right in, but I'm going to actually cut these off and actually use just straight up butt connectors on the crimp ends. And this whole wiring harness here, you can see, has a fuse holder that goes, you know, right when you connect to your battery. Obviously, I'm not going to use all that because I'm already protected from my truck. And I'm going to probably eliminate most of this stuff because all I'm really going to use is the switch. I have my own wiring itself because obviously I'm running a farther distance than if you actually did this on your vehicle itself. So I got my own like marine grade wire, and I'm going to run all that stuff. I'm really just going to use the switch, and I'm still going to show you how to connect all this. It's the same concept if you use the pre-made harness. It's just that I'm using my own wiring harness to get through the scenario I have here on my trailer. Alright guys, before I get too far along here, what I did is I cut off the pre-made end that comes with the actual wiring harness, and I drilled a hole in my box on the back side using the unibit, which it can gives me, it's a step bit which can get me to the appropriate size. So, like I said, I'm going to hardwire all this stuff. I don't have a vacuum to clean that out. We'll clean that out later, but I just want to show you before we get really deep into it. I wanted to show you how I installed the switch here. Got the appropriate size, slide it through, and it just clips in and stays there as needed. But what I'm going to do is basically bring the constant power into this box, then also the wire from the lights into this box. And this little cubby here, toolbox itself, gives me a protected area for the wiring. So I can do all my connections, make a nice neat little area here for the wires, tie wrap them, and get them all into place. Maybe I'll use some sticky backs when I get back home and tie wrap them. Those little sticky backs, those little back plates, I can stick them on here, tie wrap all these wires and hold them in the box and give a nice clean setup. But this gives a protected area from all the stuff that I carry in my box, so the wiring doesn't get hit. And with the switch on the back side, it doesn't have driving rain coming into it. And it's a good area to put the switch because as I'm back here working, I can just hit it as I'm doing my work, as I'm getting ready on the kayak. All right, guys, I'm going to give you an update here. So, in your truck boxes, it's hard to see. I got Gorilla Tape over the slots, but they usually give you, slots. Put the J-hook underneath the lip of your truck and attach it so you have a little bit of adjustability. So what I did on this is I took Gorilla Tape to cover those slots up to keep moisture and dust from coming in. What I did is I made a little slit in that Gorilla Tape, and that's where I brought my cables up. So I have my constant power, which is the one that's taped right now, and I also have the wire from the lights, and then I have the wires from the switch. Now I'm going to leave them a little longer in here, so there's always that ability to remake connections if something happens and I can get some slack out of the wire. But I already had that wire tied into my 7-pin for my constant power, and basically I just ran it up and it's running along the box here. And I'm going to do is get some of those little sticky backs later as my final walkthrough, and I'll show you that. But I just ran the wires up, put a little slit in that tape, and this is where all my connections are going to be made. Then I ran the wire for the lights underneath the trailer and tie wrapped it, and then I got it up to my unistrut. So I have 2 wires here. I decided to actually put the lights on the outside here, because then I'm going to be able to shine into my box for my fishing poles and also light up enough on the trailer itself for the kayak. So I got my wire ran across. We basically just tie wrapped it here, here, and there, and it just stays up inside the unistrut. And what I'm going to use here is the spring nuts with some 3/8 hardware to mount the brackets for the lights themselves. Now they give you all the hardware to mount the brackets and everything to your truck. They actually give you stainless steel hardware, but we decided to use our own because we're using the spring nuts on the actual unistrut to hold these brackets. But they give you all the hardware here, guys. You can see, I'll get it out of the bag here. They give you all the stainless steel hardware to mount your lights, and these little Allen keys here is what's going to mount the lights to these brackets once I get everything set. We're going to get these lights mounted. I'm going to show you when I wire these here, and I'm also going to show you, before I get too far, how I wire the area here where the switch is. So these are the spring nuts, as you see here, but I take the springs off them, and what that does is that bites into the unistrut, which is a channel strut up here, and then basically all I had to do was just put a washer and a 3/8 bolt through there, and now I can just slide this up here, make my turn, slide around where I actually want the light. Let's get in here a little closer for you. I can slide this around the bracket where I want the light and just tighten this whole thing up, and then make our electrical connection. So we're going to figure out where we want to put this, but I want to show you what the spring nut looks like. Once again, how I'm using it with the Unistrut, which if you don't know what Unistrut is, it's basically a bar that has a slot in it, and we use it for a whole bunch of applications in the electrical field and HVAC. Basically, whatever you need to mount something to or make, you know, you can see I made a rack here out of it, but it's just a very universal item which works well for what I did here on this trailer. We're going to get this bracket mounted here on both sides, get our lights mounted, which basically just takes this bracket, you slide this up in here, and then you have your Allen keys, and it slides through these brackets here. I'm not going to bore you while I do it, but basically you just put it up inside there. You know, you run the Allen key through it with the appropriate hardware. It's in the instructions, and then it gives you the ability to have your light sit here, and you can pivot it around up and down, etc., to where you want it. And then with my bracket, you know, with the spring nut on it, I can just aim it on a slight angle that covers the kayak and also covers inside my box there. So let me get through mounting these lights. I'm going to get them aimed, the initial setup, and then I'll just show you my connections here real quick while I do it, and then also the switch, and then we'll do our final walkthrough. And to wire these up, you got your black to your black and your red to your red. So your black is negative and your red is positive if you got the same color schemes on your wire. And what I suggest to do is leave yourself a little slack in this wire that you run. Now it's using the wiring harness itself. In case you got to change these lights out later, etc., give yourself a little slack, but just strip the wires, give them a little bit of a twist. And what we're using here is really waterproof crimp connectors. So you just slide them on, crimp them down, make sure your connection's tight. So go red to red, black to black. And these are like a heat shrink style. So after I'm done crimping these, I'm also going to heat them up to seal the ends, and I also put some tape on them. But make sure your connections are good. Like I said, leave yourself some slack in the wire because you can just roll it up and tie wrap it wherever you're installing it. Just give it a good crimp. Make sure you're tight. So after you make sure your connections are good, you take a little butane lighter. Just heat up the ends so they shrink down. And it gives you a good watertight seal. Just don't stay too long in the same area because you'll melt the insulation on the wire. So just kind of work this around and it'll seal up the ends. Let's work it around the actual fitting, make sure you get a good seal, let that cool down, and then I'll also wrap some electrical tape around it as well. So once it's cool, what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of electrical tape and just work it around either the positive or negative. This way we know we have a good separation between the two, just in case when you crimp that butt connector, you didn't get any exposed metal through there. And I'll wrap one individually, and what I'll do is I'll take electrical tape and I'll wrap the whole connection up. Keeps the water from getting inside the cable. Do a good nice tight wrap. And before you actually do this, you may want to check your connections after you make all your connections to the power to make sure you're good. But I've done this so many times, I trust myself. And what I'll do is I'll take this additional slack and work it up inside the Unistrut here, tuck it away, and I'll put some tie wraps on it and clean that up. And once I got everything tucked up inside, I run some tie wraps through the slots in the Unistrut and just give it a nice little snug, not too tight, just holds the wires up all nice and neat. And that's it. And I got everything loose right now until I make my final adjustments. So your final connection is where your switch is located, and you can see I drilled it here in the back of the box, and I have my lighted switch right here. And when you turn it on, you can see it lights up and gives you your lights that I have on both sides of the rack here. So to make this connection, what you got is you have a 3-wire from the switch harness itself, which I cut and basically shortened up, and then you have your constant power, and then you have your wire running to the actual lights themselves. So you can see I use a different style connector inside the box because this is already inside of a box, so it's already watertight. And these butt connectors, the ones I used before, the heat shrink and these styles, you can get at a big box store or an automotive store. But basically I got my constant power here on the left. And what you do is take your constant positive to the red of the switch harness. You take your negative and make sure you strip it and twist it around and put it on the one side of the butt connector. So you got your negative here and your negative here from the constant power and the wire running to your lights, and you hook that to the black of the wiring harness going to the switch, and then your white wire from the switch is your positive running out to your light fixtures, or your switch leg, if you understand what I mean as an electrician. So the white from the wiring harness from the switch is going to the positive of your lights. So very simple. So once again, take your two negatives on one side of the butt connector, so your wire from your battery source and your wire from your lights, splice those together, twist them together, strip them and twist them together and put it on the one side of the butt connector. And then on the other side of the butt connector, you take your black from your wiring harness from the switch, and then your constant hot from your battery source goes to the red of the switch harness, and then your white from the switch wiring harness goes to the red, or your positive going out to your lights. And that's your simplified connection to power up these lights. So what we're going to do is I'm going to clean up these wiring inside here, put some electrical tape around this, get these nicely neat tucked into the corner, and then also support the wires coming up the side of the box here. So I'm going to do one final walkthrough. I'm going to make some adjustments to these lights, and I'll walk around the whole setup here and just do one quick little recap, and then we'll get some nighttime footage for you and how this is lighting up my kayak when I'm getting ready in the morning, and also inside my boxes so I can see my fishing poles and equipment, etc. Right, now that the rain has stopped, I could take you guys outside and show you a little bit better how it looks in a little bit better light. But you can see I mounted the light here and I mounted the light over there. And you saw the connections of these, and everything is nicely wrapped up inside the unit strut itself. So you just have just a little bit of wire coming out for the light fixtures themselves. And it is a really nice clean install. What I was talking about before with the sticky backs, I'm going to show you inside the box here. You can see these are the sticky backs, and it allows you to clean the surface. It has double-sided tape, and it allows you to tie wrap the wires neatly and hold them in place. And these are these right here. You can pick these up from the big box store. I got these from Home Depot. And they're just called a 1x1 mounting basins for your tie wraps. And I'll show you what it looks like a little bit closer. And you can see it's got slots in it to accept the tie wraps from either direction. So once you stick those on, it gives you a nice place to push the wires out of the way and tie wrap the wires. And you can see down here, I tie wrapped them along the side of the box with the sticky backs as well. And the wire I use has a coating on it. It's a marine grade wire. I'll see if I can find this as well and throw this in the link. But I think you can get like 50 feet for like 30 bucks, and it's a better solution than running individual wires, like a separate black and a separate red, which you could run those too. And then if you do that route, what you could use is some wire loom, and you could run your wires individually, the positive and negative, and this has a slit in it, and you could work your wires through that and protect your wires as well using the wire loom. But I like using the basically SJO cord marine style wire to use on pretty much everything I use anymore, just because it's a better wire. It's already got the the exterior wrap to it that keeps it protected and allows it to take a lot of abuse, especially in that marine environment. So overall, you can see how clean the install is, and then all you got to do is come back here, push my switch on, you can see it lights up, and now I have my lights that light up the area here where I'm getting prepped in the morning and be able to see around my kayak and a little bit inside my box. So anything left to do is to take this out and show you guys how much light it is at night, having just a 3x3 inch cube. It's going to be the perfect amount of light, not overpowering me. But if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I'll get right back to you. You guys could DM me on Instagram, Facebook if you guys have any questions with the wiring. But The wiring diagram comes with the package, and there's also a little scan code you can hit, and it'll take you to the website to show you how to wire this. But like I said, this kit comes with all the wiring that you need to, install this on your truck itself, on your tractor, on your side-by-side, etc. I just had to use my own wiring because of the distance I was running and the way I'm wiring these lights. I wanted to use my own wiring. Not saying that the wiring harness that comes with the Nilights are bad. I just need to run a little bit farther distance and have a little bit of a different setup. And being I'm an electrician by trade, it just makes sense for me to do my own stuff anyway. So I hope that you guys like this video. Like I said, drop some comments. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll leave the link in the description for the lights themselves, and I'll also try to find the wire that I use for this install on Amazon, and also leave that link in the description. You can go to Nilight website. I'll leave that link below as well, and you can see all the different lights they have. They have 20-inch light bars, 30-inch light bars, 40-inch light bars, etc. All sorts of different cubes and all sorts of switches as well to install on your vehicle or install on your side-by-side, etc. that have all, different kind of rockers and a whole bunch of stuff. Nilight has a lot of stuff on their website. Like I said, I've been using their stuff now for 7 years, so it works very well. It's very inexpensive way. It's a very inexpensive solution to light up your work area, or if you do off-roading, if you do camping. They are a great LED light solution for the price, and you can beat them up. They last for a long time, and when they do go bye-bye or you lose a diode or whatever, they're not that expensive to replace. And they also have a warranty as well. All that information is on their website, so you guys can see that. Drop a comment. I appreciate you guys stopping by. The only thing left to this video is you guys to see what this looks like at nighttime, and we'll end it there. So as always, guys, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you on the water. And I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope it helped you as well. See you soon. So you can see with these lights, it gives me plenty of light and they're not overpowering. And it gives me enough light to see in my box here a little bit too. So between my pickup and the trailer lights, I have plenty of light to see when I'm getting ready in the morning for my kayak fishing adventures. So it's the perfect amount, having those 3-inch cubes on the trailer. So being an inexpensive LED lighting solution, the Nilights work perfectly without being too bright.